Hi, and welcome to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm MacCabe, CEO and co-founder of Intuitive Performance. I'm a performance coach, HR professional, whole person leadership facilitator, and your host. The Human Side of Business podcast is fueled by the genuine curiosity to understand how personal characteristics and skills can be leveraged to drive individual and team performance, tangible outcomes, and ultimately organizational success within business. Each podcast is devoted to sharing knowledge, expanding our learning edges, and exploring the trends in corporate culture towards growing the emotional intelligence of organizations. I'm so glad you're here. Hi, and welcome to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm MacCabe, CEO and co-founder of Intuitive Performance. I'm a performance coach, HR professional, whole person leadership facilitator, and your host. The Human Side of Business podcast is fueled by the genuine curiosity to understand how personal characteristics and skills can be leveraged to drive individual and team performance, tangible outcomes, and ultimately organizational success within business. Each podcast is devoted to sharing knowledge, expanding our learning edges, and exploring the trends in corporate culture towards growing the emotional intelligence of organizations. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm MacCabe, CEO of Intuitive Performance. Today, I'm super excited to be joined by Maria again, one of our incredible consultants and a certified change management practitioner. Maria, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Ange. I'm really excited to dive into today's topic, the future of learning, trends to watch in 2025. It's such an interesting time for workplace learning, and I think leaders will find our conversation today full of actionable tidbits.
I agree. Before we dive in, I want to share something that shaped my perspective on today's topic. About a year ago, I found myself juggling a lot of responsibilities, being an entrepreneur, and it really became clear to me that my approach to managing focus and energy really wasn't sustainable, as well as my expectations of the same. So that's when I made a conscious effort to reevaluate my habits and make them small but intentional. These are things like practices that prioritize clarity, simplicity, and overall well-being. When we think about training development in the workplace, we don't think of any of those things. So for me, I think it's important because it's a transformative shift that not only enhanced my personal performance, but also reinforced the importance of what some call mental wealth. And when we say mental wealth, it's really about cultivating habits that support your long-term capacity to thrive, even in demanding environments. It's a concept that deeply aligned with the way workplace learning is evolving. And I think it really ties beautifully into our conversation today. So let's get started.
Okay, mental wealth. We'll see how that comes up in the rest of our chat. Cool.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing.
Of course. Maria, let's set the stage by talking about where we are now with regards to trends that you're seeing in the workplace learning and development space as we enter into 2025.
Yeah. One of the biggest shifts, which I think we've talked about briefly in earlier episodes, is a move toward microlearning. So it's exactly probably what it sounds like, is short, focused content that's available on demand. So I think across the board, we're seeing a rise in shorter attention spans for whatever reason.
The goldfish attention span?
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever that might be. So microlearning caters to shorter attention spans, and it's easily integrated into busier days, busier schedules. It's relevant to immediate needs, and it focuses on specific skills in varied formats. So the aim of making learning more engaging than traditional methods that we're used to.
That makes total sense to me. And adding to that, the need for focus really resonates with me. At Intuity, we're always looking for innovative ways to make learning not just efficient, but also highly personalized or customized, that's interactive so that it actually sticks with the learner. It's really focusing in on habit formation after the learning piece. So, spoiler alert.
I was just going to say, you've got something for that.
We've been talking about, how Intuity will evolve essentially from a technology perspective. And we're going to be beta testing something really exciting this March, which is a coaching avatar designed to deliver on-demand interactive support for leaders and managers. That's the first market to start. So stay tuned. So of course, I can't share too much yet, but it's really a great example of how technology can meet the needs of busy professionals and elevate our learning experiences.
That's so exciting. Absolutely. So the ability to access guidance tailored to specific challenges in real time is what has the potential to transform how leaders develop and apply new skills. And it aligns perfectly with the trend toward learning that's flexible, practical, and impactful. So we will talk about some options. It doesn't need to be a fancy new tool or technology. There are other actionable things you can do, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Sounds great. Looking ahead, what are the key trends we should be paying attention to in 2025, Maria?
Well, like you said, AI is changing the game. So adaptive learning platforms powered by AI can analyze user behavior, provide customized content in real time. It makes learning more dynamic and accessible than ever before.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think I would debatably put forward that with the backing of AI, it becomes a bit more engaging.
Yeah.
Versus your regular learning management system type approach.
I think it's the next step up from engaging with a person in real time. It at least gives the feeling it's a bit more conversational.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit here, I'm going to watch the thing, I'm going to make some notes. Then, that may be all that you do with it. You walk away and away you go.
Right. Absolutely.
Maybe to engage or never engage again. Whereas if there's a tool that can be a bit conversational.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think you're on point in identifying that's a game changer because it also supports the rise of learning ecosystems.
Ooh, yes.
Right? So it's looking at integrative platforms where team members can access formal training, whether it's internal to the organization or external. Also, informal knowledge sharing tools. I think those are super beneficial.
Yeah.
And mentorship opportunities all in one place, right? So that it's really creating a seamless learning experience. So you have, academia-backed information. You have the micro-learning approach. You have informal knowledge sharing as well. And then it can turn into a mentorship opportunity.
Yeah.
And it could be in any order.
Yeah. Yeah. So it helps each of those kind of work together and maybe deepen one or all of them. That's cool. Another trend, which I feel like it's been a trend for a few years, but probably more since the pandemic, but even more so, I think, in what we're seeing is the focus on emotional intelligence and soft skills for sure. So as automation handles more technical tasks, these human-centric skills are becoming more and more essential. So for our listeners hearing us talk about emotional intelligence, maybe for the first time, which would be shocking, but emotional intelligence is defined as the capacity to recognize, understand, and manage one's own emotions and those of others. And it has become a pivotal factor in workplace dynamics, like we just said, especially since the pandemic. So I think organizations are recognizing the value of training employees in communication, compassion, and collaboration. But as we said, it can take many different forms. It can look like anything from a mindfulness practice, so mindfulness exercises, feedback mechanisms is a big one. And I think it's one that at Intuity we come into a lot in talking about performance. So encouraging open communication and feedback helps individuals understand how their emotions affect others. And, you know, it may be something as formal as a professional development program. So, you know, you can implement emotional intelligence training, of course, to try and cultivate those skills as well. But I think one that we've been fond of from a coach approach is the feedback mechanism. And again, like in the last episode, talking about creating that learning environment.
Yes.
So,
And I think to add into that, it's really important to identify not just the what skills you need, but also the reason why you need them. And it's this circling of undertone as to like, what's the return on investment for an organization? So, you know, as a learning and development professional and as coaches, we see the value in it because we see those changes daily. However, for an organization investing in these types of learning applications or engagements, I think it's needed. I think we need to educate a bit more with regards to like, what specifically does this impact? And it impacts everything from your bottom line all the way up to how quickly you can innovate and get into the market the fastest with regards to a new technology or what have you, new product, etc. It's also thinking about the fact that the pendulum has not swung back to it being an employer market. It's still an employee market. And to be competitive as an employer, ensuring that you're adding value, which is training and development, more and more individuals are looking for that, especially our younger generations.
Yeah, when you said return on investment too, in my head, I was thinking, why is it, I'm thankful, but why is it that workplaces are now more conscious of the learning actually sticking, you know? And I think there's a bit of, you know, we're investing in this money-wise, but then also we need people to actually use this stuff, whereas perhaps before training may have been more performative or like a box ticking exercise. But I think we're getting to more of a place collectively where if we're spending the time and the money, it needs to stick and our people need to do something with it.
Absolutely. It needs to be intentional and also bridging that knowledge to action. I agree 100%. Yeah. And I think this also ties back into normalizing the build of mental wealth, right? So building upon emotional intelligence is mental wealth to me because it decreases stress, it increases collaboration, as well as, you know, it's not just about improving performance. It's about creating sustainable habits that support your overall well-being. And this can come in a few forms or formats, I guess we'll say. And on that note, one thing that I found helpful recently is incorporating tools that promote mental clarity during the day and relaxation at night. So for me and, you know, to our listeners, a little bit of vulnerability in my own journey when it comes to herbal supplements and my own performance, dealing with 21 allergies, hypothyroidism. I know I laugh too. Hypothyroidism and other stuff. You know, it's health and wellness has really been not just something that I've been interested in, but my body has told me you need to pay attention. And if you don't, then you're not going to perform. And so for me, I've tried different vitamins. I've tried, you know, prescription medication. I've tried homeopathic remedies or naturopaths or any type of path or optic I've been to. And for me, and I'm not saying this out of jest or, speaking abundantly, but what I found was these Magic Minds focus shots. They've really been a game changer for me. And I kid you not.
That's exciting.
So for me, it's just a simple addition to my morning routine. And again, being sensitive, having multiple things going on in my own body, I don't have to take the whole shot. I can water it down if I want to, or take the whole shot itself. And it's helped me feel more present and productive throughout the day. I'd also add that it increases like the growth mindset, like just happiness in general. And they also have a new product that's called Magic Mind Sleep Elixir. So I haven't tried this yet, but it's really designed to help you with sleep, like falling faster asleep and resting better, or getting like more of that deep REM sleep that we crave. And now, for the first time, they're bundling it together. So we are going to put a link in our podcast bio for a great deal around this.
Okay. Mental wealth and another focus tool in our tool belt, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it really comes down to the individual.
For sure, yeah.
But it's bringing awareness and attention that it's not just about training and development. It's also about what charge are you taking. You're taking charge of your own mental health, your own wellness, and how you're elevating from a training and development or a learning perspective.
Yeah. I mean, are you capable of, if you're a leader listening to this, or, someone who will be receiving training and development opportunities, you need to be in the right mindset and have the capacity to actually take the information in and do something with it. So
absolutely. So you're not just overwhelmed with another thing.
And before, I'm sure the advice was usually like, make sure you have a certain type of breakfast and, don't have too many coffee. But now we have other tools, like you're saying, this one that you tried. So that's very cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Of course. And it doesn't give me the jitters either, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
And it's all natural.
Amazing.
I need to plug that.
Yes. Thoroughly plugged. But it's like you said, it highlights how small adjustments, literally small, because this thing is tiny.
It is.
But it can make a big impact. So whether it's tools like, adding this drink or other habits, leaders who prioritize their own well-being set a powerful example for their teams.
And Magic Mind sets the stage. Like, I loved how you were saying, it's not a big drink, but it does pack the punch that we're looking for.
Yeah.
So continuing on with all of these advancements, there are bound to be challenges. Yeah. What do you see as the biggest barriers organizations face when we're adopting these new trends?
One of the major barriers is just the rapid pace of technological change. And even if it's not technological change in general, it's overwhelming for organizations to keep up with new tools and platforms, especially without a clear strategy. So this is where my change practitioner hat comes on, and this is a bit of a how-to, but in ensuring that any new tool or technology is introduced when everyone that needs to use it has the ability to do so.
Right.
I'll say that again. For change to stick, any new tool or technology needs to be introduced at the point when everyone that you want to be using it has the ability to do so. So in my change management training through ProSci, they use the ADKAR model, which is an acronym for awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. So individuals, change starts with individuals. So individuals need to be moved through these stages. So awareness of the need for the change, whether that's a new tool or restructuring or whatever it might be, the desire to participate and support the change, the knowledge on how to change, and then the ability to implement the required skills and behaviors. So that's where the training and development piece really comes in. So lastly is reinforcement to sustain the change. So really just, celebrating. But the ability to implement the required skills and behaviors, I'll say that again and again. It's really important to make sure that everyone who needs to go through the change, adopting the new technology, can do that. Tell them how. Tell your people how. One of the biggest challenges is the rapid pace of the change. Have you helped your people be prepared for that change? Yeah.
I find that really interesting. Before responding to that directly, the first thing that came up in my mind is that this doesn't have to be for mid to large size organizations. No. It's for every organization. Yeah. So for example, we had a client in the tech space that grew from 5 to 55 employees in 1 year. What kind of change management's there, right? Yeah. Everything from who are we reporting to how are we communicating, to how are we filing expenses, So it's thinking about this from the perspective of you don't need a huge budget nor oodles of people to deploy these types of things.
No, just do they have the ability to implement the skills and behaviors you're requiring.
Absolutely. And to add on another challenge from a place of learning, not a place of disparity, is that it's really about accessibility and inclusion. We know that technology can be a powerful enabler. Yeah. And it needs to be designed with diverse learning styles and abilities in mind.
Absolutely.
The other thing that I would edge in to say is cultural competencies when it comes to learning tools. Because in my experience in past, without that, there's perceptions put out there via reports or outcomes of that technology that should not be there. So I think that as an organization, we also have a responsibility around ensuring that there's vetted technology, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Is there one that makes me think about, what you're working on behind the scenes with Intuity, and have you seen firsthand how AI is remedying that, or has the potential to remedy? Not obviously wave a magic wand and make it go away, but when you said needs to be designed with diverse learning styles, yes, I would think that the AI component could really
absolutely
be the game changer for that.
It depends on the information that's put in, of course, I guess, is the shortest form. Yeah. However, from diverse learning styles to behavioral styles to abilities to cultural differences, all of that could be somewhat, if not pragmatically remedied by avatars or AI technologies. Absolutely. I feel like this is probably always an ongoing challenge, but another one, so I'll stick it in there, is measuring the effectiveness of learning initiatives. One, because there are so many tools available, and so it can be hard to determine what's driving results. But also, I would say with the soft skills piece, that's always a bit of a challenge to measure and understand where that's coming from. Can I play devil's advocate?
Yeah, please.
So in my experience, when it comes to measuring what we would call the soft skills or subjective information, and by the way, I don't know why we call it soft skills, because behavioral skills are no joke.
And they're the hardest ones.
They're the hardest ones to refine,
sharpen,
even adapt to. Yeah. So for me, I think a few things come up. from an individual learning perspective, there's always an opportunity for some sort of assessment when it comes to emotional intelligence. So you're taking a baseline and then you take a pulse.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend that after one session or one learning experience, but rather after 6 months to a year, that type of thing, to see where's the delta, what's changed, what's increased, what's decreased. And by the way, what's going on in the employment environment.
Yeah.
Because it all has impacts on these things. The other thing from a larger company perspective is when something feels like we can't measure it yet, it's really getting clear on the objective of what you're doing, right? So if, for example, if communication is the issue, what does success look like? Well, for me, I would want to see at least a 10 to 20% increase in communication for the better, not the worse, right? So then it's like, okay, well, how do we measure that?
Yes.
And that's also part of, I think, a company's responsibility to understand the practitioners and the training and development individuals that they're working with, so that they know that there's value in the packages that they're purchasing and that it's aligned not just with what they're learning, but their culture. And there can be measurable outcomes.
Yeah. So I suggested that soft skills are hard to measure, and you're saying that they're only hard to measure if the outcome isn't clear.
Correct.
Yeah. And you asked the question, what would success look like?
Very much
If
so.
anyone's listening that's struggling with feeling like they have an unmeasurable, ask yourself, what would success look like?
I enjoy how you slow me down and recap, because I just have the ability to let go. You know what I'm like?
Yeah, no, that was a golden nugget. I needed to say that again.
Good one.
Yeah.
I like it. And there's also the opportunity for thoughtful experimentation, right? So it's just like with our own personal routines. This is more so speaking on the individual side of things, that you can start small. You can pilot new approaches. We've actually, even on the company side, we've actually done that.
Yeah.
We've started with one department and then have expanded to 2 departments and now throughout the organization. So within that, piloting new approaches. We're gathering feedback and we're really refining as we go. We had one scenario where the organization had emerging team members, managers, senior managers, directors, C-suite, and nominees of management all joined the session. Me being competitive, I was like, yeah, I'll take that on. We can handle it. And if any of our listeners are learning and development professionals, you're probably laughing at me right now, because it's, that was a bit of a Mount Everest to climb in the sense of expectations. And when we're talking about refining, it's also being open as an organization, as well as your practitioners that you're working with, to kind of take pulse checks. And in this example, I wouldn't say that we failed. However, there was a lot of levels of expectations that we weren't meeting, because we met the majority where they were at, right? So the newer management staff. And so for the seniors, for them, it wasn't, the quality wasn't there, and the depth and breadth of learning. And I respected that 100%. So I help them and positively challenge them from an accountability perspective. Okay, cool. Like, how about the first 15, 20 minutes of our facilitation session? We are talking about planting the seeds around the particular leadership topic. Then your homework is to bring a case study that is coming from within the organization. And I turned it into a hybrid approach of facilitation and coaching. And that's kind of where the Intuiti, you call it the Intuiti way. The Intuiti style has come out because of testing and refining and understanding where clients need different levels of learning and development or methodologies.
Yeah, it's not the one size fits all. And I think being okay with that, for sure.
So let's talk about now what leaders can do today to prepare for the future of learning, and what practical steps would you recommend?
I mean, we've already talked about it so much, but it truly is embracing, and further to the story that you just shared, is microlearning. So even if you don't have access to a sophisticated platform or platforms, you can curate short, impactful content that meets your team's immediate needs.
Right.
So it could be recommending a chapter in a book,
Yes.
a short video, a journaling exercise, you name it, but it needs to be actionable and I guess as hands-on as possible. One of the things that we talked about last time and in saying meeting your team's immediate needs is there's an assumption there that you have a certain level of understanding of your team and you're actively engaged with them. So I guess a step before embracing microlearning is how engaged are you with your team? Do you know their needs? And then I think you can kind of provide effective microlearning opportunities. But I would say the first step is just knowing your team and what their needs might be.
Absolutely. And it doesn't need to be, I want to add or elaborate, assuming on your point, knowing what your team needs.
Yeah.
And by that, it's meaning understanding what skills are required, what skills they currently have. So basically, it's a skills gap analysis.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And the most beneficial way I've experienced in past and have seen in past is whereby leaders are chatting with the group or the team collectively as well as individually to understand what motivates them and help them get on board with that change management piece.
Absolutely,
of, getting behind the whole concept of continuous learning, right? Yeah. And that's really and truly, I think that's a golden nugget that you're pulling out is what is your intention in understanding your team members from a learning and development perspective.
Exactly, yeah.
And therefore, what can you do for them? Either it being mental wealth, microlearning, something from an academia perspective, or maybe it's conventions, right? But it's getting your team members ready to bring that information back into the organization, i.e. equals cultural learning, continuous learning approach.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's also, we talked about it in the last episode as well, about experimentation and encouraging the same. So having that safe to fail environment to be able to experiment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You yourself as a leader, you're trying new things and talking about it.
Absolutely.
What worked, what didn't.
Yeah.
You're a human.
Human first. Yeah. That's what we say. Also, I find on a personal level, it's about finding what supports your focus and energy. I think that's really big for a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of leaders, a lot of consultants, especially that are working in this fast-paced than ever environment. Whether it's taking your breaks, your micro breaks, whether it's prioritizing your sleep or adding tools like Magic Mind sleep shots to your evening routine, those small steps can really add up over time.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, just considering the whole picture, meaning your habits, your body, the thing that carries your head around, how's that doing?
Yeah.
And I would say, to go back to my change management commentary and the how of that. So the takeaway would be, as a leader with the help of a change practitioner, you start by creating awareness of why the change is necessary and connecting it to your organization's goals. You build desire by involving employees early and showing how the change will benefit them. You provide the knowledge through training and clear communication, as we're saying, and ensuring your team has the ability to apply. There's that word, ability to apply what they've learned with hands-on support. And then reinforcement, as I said, that's celebrating your successes, gathering feedback, continuously reinforcing the value of the change to sustain it over time. So yeah, I just wanted to explain that a little bit further because, I think we perceive change to be this big thing, but those little steps, everything about what I just said really just comes down to communication and letting your team know why we're changing and what that's going to look like and then how we're going to do it together. So,
and when we're doing it together.
Yeah, when we're doing it together.
Over communication.
Exactly. And I wanted one thing when I was hearing you speak because I feel like this episode a lot, we've said the word, or we've repeated the word small.
Yeah.
And so I know it may sound cliche, but really do start small. Don't try to implement a bunch of new practices. And I think really stressing the coming at it from a place of self, and just, are you trying to pour from an empty cup? So
meaning you're like feeling burnt out and drained.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that energy, or you don't, using your analogy, your cup isn't full, then you can't give anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we say small, we realize that building some habits don't feel small, but if it is, taking your walk that you need at the beginning of the day or the end of the day, or, trying a new supplement or a new diet that boosts focus and energy and clarity, whatever it might be, don't try and tackle all the things at once, but do kind of do a check-in with yourself and recognize and be honest about your capacity. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, what I'm hearing when you say small, it doesn't mean small from a negative perspective.
No.
It's like looking at it from the perspective of what's that 1% change. And I've only had that epiphany as of late. So again, with the comorbidness of all of my allergies and everything that's going on, food has always been like my nemesis in the sense of, not at first not understanding what groups of food I need to eat, all the way up to my most recent epiphany as to, dense fiber versus non-dense fiber.
Right.
And
oh God.
right? Like really getting into
That's a whole other episode.
It is 100%. But my point being is that 1% change or shift in knowledge has literally changed my energy levels because of what I'm putting into my body.
Yeah.
And wanting to share that, especially to anybody who's struggling out there with regards to implementing any forms of changes. It's just really, I think what it comes down to is noticing or being open to noticing those 1% changes.
And to follow, that's kind of been the emerging theme of today's topic is managing change. But in order to learn as a leader or a leader supporting their team, again, how are you? Are you at a place? Do you have the capacity to do this, to support this? Are you in a place of being receptive and able, or you or your team? Just how's everybody doing?
Absolutely.
If we're embarking on this learning journey together, what does that look like? And are we all in a place of, if it's more traditional type learning and training, do we have the capacity and ability to retain, what we're investing in? So it's,
And I think it's not so much about questioning the capacity, because there's the argument that we're always at capacity.
Yes, for sure.
But rather, if we're going to invest and take on training and development for our team members or continue to do so, it's getting super intentional as to how they will utilize that investment. So that goes back kind of like a circle argument, I guess, is what I'm having with myself here around the fact that being super intentional around outcomes.
Yes. Yeah.
And getting clear on the same. Yeah, absolutely. As always, it's been an insightful conversation, Maria. Any final thoughts on the future of learning for you?
I think that it's an exciting time. The tools and approaches that are available are more dynamic and accessible than ever, but as we've been saying, it's up to leaders to make those thoughtful, strategic decisions to make sure the learning initiatives truly deliver value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. What's really been circling for me, selfishly, I would add, is Intuity's whole person leadership concept. I think we could do a whole episode on that because it really kind of nicely packages everything and more what we've been talking about the past few episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said. Of course, for our listeners, if you're curious about building your own mental wealth or supporting your team's focus and resilience, check in with our allergies first, I would say. I'd encourage you to try tools like Magic Mind. They've been a great addition to my routine again, and I think you'll find them valuable too. You can even check out their special 24-hour pack combining focus and sleep shots for a holistic approach to mental performance. Visit the link in the show's notes for an exclusive offer that we have for you.
Awesome.
Before we go, I want to gloat maybe a little bit. I've been working on that skill as an entrepreneur myself, not gloating per se, but
self-promotion.
Yeah, being able to promote, right?
Yeah.
So here's a self-plug. Honestly, I want to share some exciting news.
Yeah.
Intuity and myself have had a lot of fun over the past 5 years. We've taken home some awards. This one, however, is at the national stage. So I'm officially beginning my journey into what's called the Entrepreneur of Impact competition. It's put on by Colossal, and Damon John from the Shark Tank is front and center. So within this package, you receive a mentorship session from the Damon John, which I'm like super excited about on itself. So this is my chance, and I would say for Intuity, the business, to bring innovation and impact to the forefront. And I'd love my listeners' support to make this happen.
How do we do it?
Okay. I know. You're getting to the punch. You're like, all right, let's go.
Let's do it.
So you can certainly check out my profile. We'll add that to the show's notes as
your
well.
LinkedIn, right? You have
it's on my LinkedIn. So it's right under my name where it says vote for me.
Perfect.
And you can cast your vote today and every day until January 30th. That's the first round of voting. And then we'll find out if I get to round 2.
Okay.
So every vote brings me closer to the top 20, which is round 2. After January 30th, a new round of voting will begin, and your continued support will be crucial.
And you can vote once per day, right?
It's once per 24 hours.
Okay, per 24 hours.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, and it's technical.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, because I didn't know this at first, there's the voting once every 24 hours is 100% true. And you get a complimentary vote. There's also an opportunity to donate, which goes to...
I did see that when I've been voting.
Yeah, which I honestly, from a place of transparency, did not gather that when I read the rules. I think it's fantastic because what Colossal does as a nonprofit organization, this is more than likely what funds the packages that the business winners or women or whatever they're say multiple competitions, right? So, if you don't feel like having fast food that day and you want to donate some votes, feel free. No pressure though, because there is that complimentary 1 vote each day and every vote matters. I want our listeners to know that.
That's so exciting. Congratulations. You've got my vote every 24 hours.
Thank you.
And as Anne said, I encourage all of our listeners to support her in this amazing opportunity. So let's make it happen.
Yay.
Yeah.
And I promise I will even go out of my comfort zone here. I will do either recorded videos or lives.
Yeah.
If I get... because there's 9 rounds of voting.
Yeah, that's
so
a lot.
It's a lot. I know. We're in a marathon together, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
If and when, putting out there universe, I get to the 5th round, then I'll start doing video updates.
Okay.
It's really pushing out of my comfort zone. Thank you, Maria. And thank you so much to our audience. This has been the Human Side of Business podcast. Until next time, keep focusing on the human side of business. Thanks for listening to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm glad you could join us. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay updated with our latest content, make sure to visit our website. The link can be found in the episode description, where you can subscribe to the podcast, sign up for our newsletter, and learn more about our whole person leadership services. Sounds interesting? Explore the Whole Person Leadership Cohort by Intuity Performance, a unique program that offers unparalleled support to managers on every step of their leadership journey. Our program features evidence-based assessments, workbooks, group coaching, and interactive learning experiences to help you level up your leadership skills. Reach out today to apply to one of our upcoming cohorts. Until next time, take care and stay curious. Thanks for listening to the Human Side of Business podcast. I'm glad you could join us. If you enjoyed today's episode and want to stay updated with our latest content, make sure to visit our website. The link can be found in the episode description, where you can subscribe to the podcast, sign up for our newsletter, and learn more about our whole person leadership services. Sounds interesting? Explore the Whole Person Leadership Cohort by Intuitive Performance, a unique program that offers unparalleled support to managers on every step of their leadership journey. Our program features evidence-based assessments, workbooks, group coaching, and interactive learning experiences to help you level up your leadership skills. Reach out today to apply to one of our upcoming cohorts. Until next time, take care and stay curious.